Alright folks, good morning, everything new under the sun. I want to do a little bit of an update here, and I didn't get any videos out over the weekend. I really would like to have more time to do some more videos, but it is such as it is. Today happens to be a day off for me, so I'm going to look to get kind of caught up on some videos that I've been wanting to make, and I have a whole list of them that I think would be interesting and educational and informational. But this one is about the red heifer, and it's a red heifer update. Now, I did go ahead and pull up my keynote presentation. Let's mute Safari, and this is my keynote presentation about the red heifer. So this is in my keynote presentation called The Timeline of the Return of the Lord. And I've got several things going on here, but I talk about the red heifer as one of them, and the third temple, the requirement of the third temple to be rebuilt in the last days, because sacrifices will be stopped by the Antichrist. And that means if sacrifices are stopped, that means sacrifices must have been occurring, and for official sacrifices to occur, they need a third temple. So I've got a section here about the red heifer. This is the same keynote where I have my 70 shepherds of Israel information, my 12th Pope information. But this is a red heifer, and this is what they need to burn on the altar, and the ashes from which then are used to cleanse the implements. It says there are several methods for restoring purity, most notably immersion in water, but the Bible's exclusive antidote to the impurity of death is purification by sprinkling of the red heifer ashes. Now, of course, all this for Christians, we don't need this, but this is what the Jews believe they need. And so they are raising red heifers to be able to purify the implements and the temple implements. So it goes on here. It says the heifer in the red box, the heifer must be 3 years old and perfect in its redness. So some locations specify they only have to actually be 2 years old. So 2 years to 3 years, and there's some variation there. But this is from the Temple Institute's information. It says this means that the presence of as few as 2 hairs of any color will render it invalid. We're going to read about that in the article. It says it is related that for this reason the red heifer was always very expensive to procure. Even its hooves must be red. It must also be totally free from any physical blemish. This is because they need a perfect sacrifice, which Jesus Christ did fulfill, but the Jews obviously don't recognize that yet, but they will. So this article says 3 years old. The commandment calls for an animal to be a heifer. Whoops. No, I didn't mean to do that. I'm looking further down here. To be a heifer that is 3 or 4 years old, although an older animal could also be used, it says. So we've got a certain timeline here. And so what's interesting about this is the age of the new red heifer. So they've got several red heifers in the running, and they have a few new ones. Now, I believe there's some existing ones that are already over 2 years old right now that could be used, but this is an article about some new ones where they're continually raising red heifers because you never know at what time, if the existing ones could be rendered not pure enough, basically. This is from BreakingIsraelNews.com. 10-day-old red heifer candidate checked for eligibility. This is May 27th. Rabbinic experts traveled this week from Jerusalem to 2 separate locations to check some red heifer candidates. It says 3 of the most recent candidates were checked to determine whether they bore suitably red coats as required by halakha Jewish law to render them eligible as red heifer candidates. And so here you get some information as to, what they're finding. So one bore a small patch of white hairs, rendering it ineligible. One bore a few very light red hairs, which will require further inspection. A third candidate is currently eligible and also may require follow-up. And so they have a video here showing the red heifer. I'm going to link to this. I'm not going to play this video. I'm going to link to it. Definitely check it out. It's interesting to watch their progress on the red heifers, because we know in the last days there will be sacrifices, and possibly if the timeline isn't 100% accurate based on what I believe is going to happen, then it may be that these are going to be some of the red heifers that are going to be used. Let me mute this again. And we go back to my keynote here, where I think this start of the 7-year period is the year 2021. Now, it may be that they don't immediately rebuild the third temple. It may be that they get a command, if you will, to say, okay, you can rebuild your third temple, but it may take a year. Maybe it'll be 2022 when they actually get around to getting the temple built. And then the sacrificing of the red heifer. So I don't know that the sacrificing of the red heifer and the burning of it for ashes needs to happen at exactly the year 2021. It could happen before with the existing red heifers. It could happen maybe a year after when they're actually ready to start sacrifices again. All we know is that in the middle of the 7-year period, they stop sacrifices. So we know sometime between now and the middle of the 7-year period, they have a red heifer and it's sacrificed, and it's used for the cleansing of the implements of the third temple. So the timeline is much wider than just the year 2021. So this could very well be something, be one of the red heifers that they end up using. But the key to note here, to go along with my keynote on the timeline of the return of the Lord, is that the timeline, we are well within the range here, and they certainly have red heifers on the way that are seem to be good candidates for this burning of the red heifer for the ashes for purification. So as we continue to watch Bible prophecy unfold and be watchers of it, I believe it's in Hebrews. I read a verse this weekend that those God's coming to take with him those who are looking for his return. And as we get closer to this 7-year period and the rebuilding of the third temple, we know that the return of the Lord is near for his saints, for the elect, for those who recognize Jesus Christ as Messiah. So we are living in the last days, and the time is getting short. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll leave it there, and we'll see you guys in the next video.